Well, hello there guys and welcome to another one of my reviews. Today we're going to talk about a brand new model on the European market, and we're talking about an electric offering as well. So right next to me you will notice another car from Lynk&Co. The last time I showed you a car from Lynk&Co, it was the 01, which was already getting a bit old in the by the time I got my hands on it. But today we're showing you a brand new model unveiled late last year. This is called the Lynk&Co 02. The naming is quite simple. This is the second model Lynk&Co launched on the European market, and therefore the name in China, where this car has been on sale for quite a longer time, this is called a Z20 or something along those lines. So what is it? Theoretically, this is a compact coupe crossover, triple C if you will. Practically, I'm not pretty sure that this is a compact model, right? Because it's not that big. Now, you should know from the get-go that this car uses the same platform as the Volvo EX30. It's the SEA, Scalable Efficient Architecture, if I'm not mistaken. And this platform is also being used by other brands that Geely owns. For example, Zeekr uses this platform for one of its models. Smart uses this platform for one of its models. And I'm expecting Geely to launch one as well in the future. I don't know, Geely as a brand, right? But in this case, this car is considerably bigger than the EX30. If the EX30 is without a doubt a subcompact model, this does get closer to the compact segment. To be more precise, this is 23 centimeters, almost 23 centimeters longer than the Volvo EX30. It's 4.44 meters long, so it's quite big. It has a longer wheelbase by about 10 centimeters. Now, normally, when we're talking about the same platform being used on a number of models, you usually see the same wheelbase. But in this case, we have a longer wheelbase because this architecture is scalable. So it's a skateboard type architecture, but it allows you to use different shapes and sizes, right? So this is quite an impressive car from that perspective, because in terms of pricing, even though this is the bigger car and the technical side of things is identical to the Volvo EX30, this is considerably cheaper. Well, it will depend on the market you're in, but in most markets, this will be cheaper than the EX30, and that is quite impressive. And it will be cheaper with more kit inside. From my book, I am totally blown away by what this car offers, but we're going to talk about this as the review goes on. So in terms of design, it's pretty obvious that the front end was created to be as efficient as possible. Everything has been rounded off and everything has been clear cut. These are the daytime running lights, right? They turn into signal lights whenever you use them. And this here is the actual headlamp, right? Every car gets LED illumination and every car gets automatic high beams, but they are not adaptive headlamps. You should keep that in mind. Furthermore, depending on the model you go for, there are two models available, Core and More. The Core version doesn't get this adaptive opening radiator grille, if you will. And as we go through this review, I'm going to tell you more about the differences between the two levels of spec. This color is an optional one. Every metallic color on the cars is an optional one. This one and every single one actually costs 980 euros. This is a gray metal color, but I think starting this July, a red magenta one will be available, and that looks pretty nice. There's also a violet color that I saw on a different car, and that looks absolutely brilliant. Since this is a More version, we have 20-inch wheels on this car, whereas the Core version gets 19-inch wheels. We have a contrasting roof in black, as are the side mirrors, and the Core version doesn't get this. I actually love these side mirrors. They are hooked to an arm that extends from the door, and they are frameless and they look absolutely brilliant. We have a camera over here for the 360-degree system. As a matter of fact, the Core version doesn't get the 360-degree camera system, and it doesn't even get a rear camera either, which is kind of a shame. You only get parking sensors. I would have expected the Core version to have at least a rear view camera. I do like the way they integrated the door handles into the sides over here, and I do like the way they clear cut the door cards right here at the base of the windows in order to make it seem like they are, I don't know, minimalist to some extent. And I actually like the way the car has frameless windows. I don't really like the electronically opening doors, right? So if you want to open the door, you have to press on a button inside here, and the door will pop out electronically. And if you want to use the old-fashioned way, you have to pull harder and the door handle will open, right? So as I said, we have frameless windows up front and in the back, and I love the way this door card actually looks with the window down. It's quite nice. And the same goes for the rear door as well. We have frameless windows. If you want tinted windows in the back and for the rear window, you have to get the more version. The core one doesn't get it, but I'm sure you can add them after purchasing the car, right? Around the back, I also like this design. We have a huge wing at the back over here, which also doubles as the lights bar, right? And I like the way Lynk&Co is written at the base of the of this wing over here. We have the signal lights embedded over here, and everything is clear cut. I do admit that at the back, this car does resemble the Toyota CHR to some extent. Let's talk about the boot before hopping in the car. What you just saw is the lighting sequence whenever the car locks itself, because I'm 2, maybe 3 feet behind it and it already locked itself. As I'm getting closer, you'll notice it will unlock itself, and it will have a similar animation for these lights. Come on now. It doesn't want to do that because it will embarrass me right now. So let's open the trunk. 410 liters of space, mainly under the floor in this case, but you have a decent amount of space over here as well. What's interesting about this car is the fact that it has some, I don't know what they are called in English, but these things will help you hook different stuff on it, right? And you have some over here as well. So for example, if you want to take this off and stick it to the back seats, you can actually do that, and that's quite nice. We have anchor points over here and over here for up to 3 kilograms. And what's very interesting is the fact that we have an indicator over here. 2 more anchor points over here. Who would use these with a maximum capacity of 1 kilo? Very interesting. And in Volvo's style, you have an indicator over here for different tips and tricks, right? So the rear bench is a 60-40 split, which is not exactly great, but it's okay. Now let's hop inside. Let's check the build quality. Well, this is the more version. It has synthetic leather used on the door cards and on the seats, of course. The core version comes with a textile finish, right? We do have the Harman Kardon sound system on this car, which is also available only on the more version. The core version doesn't get it, but I like the fact that up until here we have soft touch plastic. This is recycled plastic over here, and this is the button for the window regulator, and this is the button to open the door. As I said, we have electronically opening doors, and you have a fail-safe over here. I don't know if you can see it, right? So it's a mechanical fail-safe, right? Let's hop in the car. Oh yeah, I do like this upholstery a lot in these green highlights. And you do have 2 Isofix anchor points in the back for your child seats, right? Let's check out the armrest, also wrapped in this nice leather. You have a speaker over here, which is quite interesting, right? And a flat floor, which is also welcome. This is a dedicated platform, as I said. And in terms of room, plenty of knee room. This is the seat not adjusted. This is the driver's seat not adjusted in my comfortable driving position because the car has an easy access function. So it's a bit further back, but I still have plenty of knee room. I love the way the seat back looks, and headroom is really great as well. So very good for Lynk&Co 02. We have 2 charging ports over here, a USB-C and a USB-A, another anchor point over here, and vents for the rear occupants, right? So it does look like a great choice overall, and it feels really, really nice to the touch. Now let's open the front door. As I mentioned, look at the way this windowsill is finishing. Look at the way this side mirror looks. I mean, this car feels really, really premium overall. We have the same build quality on the front door cards. We have the speakers over here, and unlike the EX30, we do have buttons to adjust the side mirrors manually, so that's pretty good. You don't have to use the infotainment system or the steering wheel to do that. Plenty of storage room over here as well, and another failsafe hidden under here. These are the seats you get on the More version, wrapped in that synthetic leather, as I said earlier, and they are electrically adjustable in about 6 ways. On the base version, you have a textile finish over here, and you have manually adjusting seats without a memory function, of course. Here we are inside. This is the steering wheel, right? Flat at the top and the bottom. We have physical buttons on it, really easy to use, and we have good quality materials on the dashboard as well. This is soft touch plastic, this is leather, as I said. Looks really, really good. This is the infotainment system. It has a huge screen. I don't know the size exactly, but I love the resolution. It's 2.5K. It uses a very good, advanced microprocessor in the back, and it doesn't have Android Auto as it happens in the EX30. Maybe the EX30 has an advantage on this front. This is a lot simpler, a lot easier to use, right? You will go into the settings menu very often whenever you start the car in order to turn off some of the most annoying assistance systems, right? Speed limit warning and so on. There's probably a shortcut somewhere to deactivate them, but I just didn't find it. But I did find this shortcut menu over here, which allows you to go through a number of different things, from the driving mode, right, to the user preferences, you know, the seat position and everything in between, changing from dark to the light theme, opening the trunk, using the car wash mode, right? There's a mode for your pet, and so on and so forth. You can actually change the way this infotainment system looks over here. You can have the map shown over here. Right, we have a selfie camera as well. It's over here, and I like the fact that you can actually close, you know, hide it. That's pretty nice. And you can not only take a selfie, you can also record a video. It doesn't work while you're on the move, but it's quite an interesting feature. Right, so what else? Well, we have infinity light on this version because this is the More version. So this is the ambient lighting. You can choose it. You can turn ambient mode on, which basically goes through every color these lights can show. You can have it set to show you the music, right? Let me show you. Right, so it can be a solid color gradient or pulsing depending on the music you listen to. It can also change depending on the driving mode you're in, and when you use your turn signal, it turns into a green turn signal, right? If you turn left, it will show here. That's not available on the core version. The Harman Kardon system is not available on the core version, and on the core version you only get one wireless charging pad over here, the left one, the driver side one. Whereas on the More version you have 2 of them. You do have a USB-C charger over here. These are cup holders, and they can be folded because this CO box can be removed, right? So this is a storage area, and you have a little tray over here, and I have some of my equipment over there, and you can actually remove this, and you can have a flat floor in the front as well. So in order to allow you to jump in between seats, you can fold these cup holders. You have a generous armrest over here. This is for, I don't know, storing some of your documents and so on. So yeah, overall I actually love this car. And another thing you get compared to the EX30 is an instrument cluster. The EX30 doesn't have one. You have one over here. You can actually choose what to be displayed on the right side of it, and if you want it to look like this, or you can actually switch between different ways of different information you can have shown in the background over here. You can have it in map mode, minimalist mode, or sport mode. So let's talk about the way the car drives. Around town, it's going to be a peach because we're inside the big city right now. It's incredibly comfortable, and the suspension is absolutely impeccable, even though we're not talking about an adaptive type of suspension. So the dampers will not change their stiffness depending on the driving mode you're in. As I said, we're talking about a McPherson setup up front, a multi-link setup in the back, but the car is very well balanced, and I'm guessing because the wheelbase is a bit longer on this model compared to the EX30, with which I have plenty of experience, this one feels a lot more settled. It feels a lot more composed, more refined overall as a suspension. So yeah, I think this is the better suspension between the two cars, but I think it's mainly because of the extended wheelbase, because on the EX30 things are quite short, the wheelbase is quite short, and that makes the car a bit jiggly on certain surfaces. It doesn't happen on this car, even though we do have the biggest wheels on here, the 20-inch wheels. I think it absorbs every crease in the road quite brilliantly. Potholes will send some jolts inside the cabin, but that's to be expected considering the size of the wheels and the size of the pothole, of course, right? We have a cruise control system on board, which will help out in terrible traffic, and the instant torque on the rear axle will make this car very lively around town. You won't have any issues squeezing into tight spaces on a short notice, overtaking and everything in between. It is a hoot to drive. I didn't expect this from this car because it wants to oversteer a lot, especially in sport mode. To be honest, I only used comfort in sport mode while driving this car, and it does have a certain duality to it. In comfort mode, the throttle isn't all that I don't know, brutal, if you will. It is a bit toned down, and it is quite predictable, so it feels like a normal car. In sport mode, things get a lot sharper, right? So the throttle response is a lot sharper, and the steering is a bit heavier. As a matter of fact, you can adjust the steering settings in the multimedia system. There are a number of settings you can choose from light to sporty, if you want it to be in a certain way all the time. But it can also change depending on the driving mode you're in. So in sport mode, it is a bit heavier, but it's not uncomfortable. It is quite well set up, and I love the way the car actually wants to I don't know, push the tail out whenever you go hard on the go faster pedal inside a bend, right? So it wants to oversteer. It feels like it wants to step out on you, and that's quite a rush you feel. Unfortunately, I didn't find a setup. I didn't find the settings for the traction control to turn it off, to have a bit more fun with it. It's quite interesting how it reacts. It lets you slip just a tiny bit, and then it kicks in, so it keeps you safe. But it's quite an interesting feeling overall, and I actually love driving this car. The nose feels light, and it has an impressive amount of grip, considering that this car is not all-wheel drive, and just, I don't know, zooming past other cars and this unsuspecting electric one is very fun to do. Yeah, it is a lot more fun to drive than I expected it to be. It keeps its composure well. It does lean a bit in the corners, but not as much as you would expect. So yeah, it's quite fun and enjoyable. I really did not see this coming when I picked up the car and went for a drive. Let's talk about efficiency for a bit. So I drove this car in comfort mode, as I said, and in sport mode. In comfort mode, the average energy consumption around town was 19 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers covered, which means you would get over 300 kilometers of range, about 350 if I'm not mistaken, around town, which is pretty good. Then I switched to sport mode, and that energy consumption went up to about 23-24 kilowatt hours, so less than, I don't know, 250 kilometers of range. But then again, when I drove in sport mode, I only had two settings for my right foot, on and off, right? So let's average that to about 20 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers covered. That should give you a range of about 330 kilometers around town, which is pretty good in my book. It was a bit cold out. Right now we're seeing 13 degrees. Yesterday was a bit colder, about 10 degrees Celsius on average. So I think during summer times you will get closer to about 400 kilometers of range. I did take this car out for a spin on a series of B roads, and over there the average energy consumption was about 15 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers covered. So not too shabby overall. That said, I think this car is quite impressive, especially around town. On the highway, the Lynk&Co 02 handles itself, I would say, more than okay. I would say close to very good. And I'm saying that because, well, as you might imagine, considering the specs of this car, 272 horsepower and a weight of under 1.9 tons, if you're thinking that a car which will be able to do 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 5.5 seconds will have any issues in keeping up with highway speeds and highway traffic, I think you should get your head checked. And I'm not kidding, because this car has plenty of resources to handle this kind of road. Now, the main issue people will probably think about is the way the energy consumption and the road noise and the sound insulation at these speeds, right? Because you do have enough power for any kind of overtaking up to 180 kilometers an hour, which is the electronically limited speed, top speed of this car. You will accelerate non-stop, and it's quite intoxicating how strong the acceleration in this car is. So no issues whatsoever in that department. But what about energy consumption? Well, as you can see on the screen here, at 125 kilometers an hour average speed, so I kept it at about 130 kilometers an hour for most of the trip, but I did have to slow down in certain situations. We have an average energy consumption of around 23.3. So I think that's pretty good overall. It should give you a range of close to 300 kilometers on the highway with a full charge. Then again, if you drive at 120 kilometers an hour, which, let's be honest, is the top speed in a lot of European countries. For example, I just returned from Barcelona, from Spain. In Spain, most roads have a 120 kilometer an hour speed limit. In Germany, a lot of roads, a lot of highways have that speed limit. In other countries as well. Sure, there are countries where you have a higher top speed limit. For example, in Bulgaria, you have a 140 kilometer an hour speed limit. And of course, we have Germany with no speed limits on certain parts of its Autobahn system. So yeah, it will depend, but on average, if you drive at 120 kilometers an hour, and I did that today, the average energy consumption will be 20 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers covered. So a range of about 330 kilometers, considering the 66 kilowatt hour usable battery size this car has. So I think it's pretty good. The second complaint, the second, I don't know, reason to worry, right? The sound insulation of this car shouldn't actually be a reason to worry, because I used my decibel meter and I recorded an average of 78 decibels inside this car at 130 kilometers an hour, which is roughly the same as the new BMW 7 Series or the new M5. I tested those cars in similar situations and I got similar results, right? So it's a pretty quiet atmosphere inside. That rounded shape from the outside does make this car a bit more aerodynamic and a lot more quieter than you would expect. So it feels like a refined car. The longer wheelbase compared to the Volvo EX30 makes this a more composed car, a more relaxed car over certain bumps. And it's actually more enjoyable to drive than its Volvo counterpart. Furthermore, you have a very good driving assistance system, which has been borrowed from Volvo, of course, which keeps you in the lane, maintains a safe distance from the car in front of you. And if you have the pilot assist system turned on, it can actually help you change lanes. So basically you just have to press on the signal the way you're going, and the car will help you turn, but you still have to keep your hands on the steering wheel in case you were wondering. So yeah, it works pretty good. I think the energy consumption is pretty good for a car this size, and I think you could have some very good road trips on board of this car. So, what's the takeaway when it comes to the Lynk&Co 02? Well, if we're to include it in the crossover coupe electric premium category, because this is a premium car, it's a bargain. I don't know the pricing in every single country where you're watching this from, but over here in Romania, this car starts at 37,500 euros. And that is about 1,500 euros cheaper than the EX30 from Volvo, which is a lot smaller. But if we're to enter the premium compact crossover segment, a Audi Q4 starts at around 50,000 euros. A Volvo EX30 starts at about 58,000 euros, right? If we're talking about, I don't know, the BMW iX1, you go and check the pricing. So this is a bargain, no matter how you look at it. And I think it's going to be a bargain on your markets as well. This car seems a bargain even if you include it in the subcompact volume segment, right? If you compare this to the Renault Scenic, for example, which is a compact crossover, this is still cheaper and it has a lot better specs and a better interior. If you compare it to the Peugeot E2008, it's a bit more expensive, but not by as much as you would think, and the specs aren't even in the same league. If you compare it to the Kia EV3, that's the closest subcompact rival to this car, it's still a better choice. So overall, I think this is now the leader in this segment with this price tag. And I think European car manufacturers and others will have a very tough battle ahead of them to try to compete with this car. Now, if it didn't say Lynk&Co on it, I think it would become a bestseller. But it is exactly because it is called Lynk&Co 02 that it is this cheap. That said, this has been my review of the Lynk&Co 02. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Until next time, of course, don't forget to feed your passions.